Welcome to the Whole Human Experience, your library for experiential wellness. Because I've learned so much on these mats, on this ground here because of you, being a teacher of movement, a teacher of play, but also a student of movement, a student of play, which I see you do so beautifully. Every class, you're not just the teacher, you're also the student. And that is rare for me to see somebody at your caliber of movement, caliber of ability, to also constantly be learning from the people that are coming into the class. It's inspiring to see the teacher, the student, and them both dance. How do you feel you keep that alive as you progress and gain new skills and new lessons, new wisdoms? You continue to learn, to grow, to be a student.
I think so much of it is curiosity. Curiosity. We've had this conversation before. Curiosity just to what, again, our potential is, what the body is capable of, what its limitations are, the sensations that can be created through the body, through curiosity. What is my body telling me? I think that's so much of the conversation.
How do you get there? What is your body telling you? Like if I go into a posture, my heels don't want to touch the ground, probably as good as yours do. What is my body telling me? What is the...
It's time. It's time. It's spending time in those conversations, which is what we're constantly doing. Every Friday we get together and we revisit something from the week before, then we add something more, but we're constantly familiarizing ourselves with a specific dialogue, which I'm going to say are the movements that we bring into the conversation. But they accumulate over time and they compound over time. So much of the invitation is having the patience and I think the consistency to keep coming back to these conversations, inviting them back in and spending time within them, especially when they're uncomfortable. And uncomfortability can come with unfamiliarity or with lack of what you might consider to be ability or technical proficiency or discomfort in the body that generally shows up through pain. Like, can we remain within those moments and soften into those moments? Because too often when there is a sensation, let's say pain, we're very quick to try and remove ourselves from them as opposed to trying to spend a little bit more time and realize why and how does this pain exist? And can I soften into that pain as opposed to putting up resistance?
That, I think, is such an important differentiator of how some people see play. It's like play needs to always be enjoyable.
Always.
The experience is you can be in a playful state and it can be hard, right? And that's what you're hitting on, which I think many people don't explore the texture of that. They think play needs to be, I'm skipping down the street, but play can be, this is difficult, and then something else comes through because you went into the discomfort via the path of play. And that's amazing to be able to use play as the way in to the unlock through the body, through something that could be challenging, bring play in, then the challenge can soften, like you're saying.
And you would know there are moments in the class where I try and encourage to remain, I'm going to use the word process, within the process of exploration. Too often where perhaps we're exploring and it doesn't unfold in the way we feel it does, we're very quick to disconnect. And they're like, oh, I made a mistake. Oh, I want to start again. I'm like, I think the practice in those moments is to remain engagement. And I think so much of what is being prescribed to us just on a human existence day to day is distracting us, and it's very easy to disengage. So a lot of the practice is remaining engaged in those moments of discomfort, in those moments of unfamiliarity, do you know? And that's, I think, a big practice. And how do we do that is by constantly revisiting them and becoming familiar. I'm like, okay, usually I would have made a mistake by now and I would have switched off and tried to bring myself back. But now I know that if the error comes, I can kind of trust in myself a little bit more to find the re-engagement and find my way back through what I'm actually exploring.
Yeah.
So it's cerebral, but more of it is very physical. And the physical aspect is where I think the intelligence of the body lies. Yeah. Do you know, spending time. We spend an hour and a half, do you know, but we're very consistent. You know, there's a cadence to what we're doing that I see we're getting tired. People are getting tired. It's very easy to want to switch off in those moments. It's like, okay, this is where we keep going. This is in those moments, those thresholds where most of us are ready to like time out and go, I need a break. But to be in those moments of discomfort and know that I do have the robustness and the ability just to explore a little bit further. It's like we're trying to squeeze a little bit more out of ourselves. And that again, I think maybe comes with just time of walking this earth.
Yeah. There's so much gold in what you just shared. I'm curious in particular, because you're naming something that maybe when people hear it, they're like, how is that play? How is that something you would enjoy? Where does discipline come in for you? Is that something that starts you on the path and then you let it go? Is that something you continue to return to with practice? How do you engage with discipline? When do you bring in discipline? When do you bring in play? Are they of similar texture? I would love your take on this.
Discipline, it's such an interesting relationship through the years that I've had with discipline and where I am now. I think the way I word or how I relate to discipline comes through gentleness and alignment. It's not this kind of militaristic approach that I've got to enforce or impose on myself. That to me just creates this sense of resistance into the body. So it's actually, it's more through alignment. As strange, I could totally break that down and it's another conversation. But discipline is something that comes to me when I am doing things that align with the way I feel the body should be exploring movement. And then it's easy to remain in that process, even through those moments of being tired and fatigued. There's a sense of wanting to keep going because there is a sensation of alignment, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's just, I think the way we've been prescribed to look at discipline, it's a little too hard line, a little too tough for people. I think we can navigate it more through a sense of being gentle with ourselves and just finding alignment through what we do. This may not align with everyone, this movement. I think it does. I think play is part of our natural state. Yeah. Do you know? So the part of discipline, I almost feel it runs parallel to consistency. Like consistency, I think, is really big. Yep. Do you know, discipline, I'm like, just remain consistent with something. And if it's hard at first, what you demand of the body, what you ask of it, the body is just so intelligent. It will find a way to be far more efficient with it. To whatever it is. If you feel your body just needs to sit down all day in front of a computer, your body will become really efficient at that. You know, I think my curiosity is to exploring it, what the potential of the body, especially, again, I'm not going to preach on my age, but at this point in my life, so much of the narrative around where I am, I shouldn't be doing the things that I'm doing at the level that I'm doing it, with the mindset that I'm doing it. And for that reason in itself, I feel motivated to continue to explore, but through a lens of, I've had a lot of miles on the body, a lot of major injuries. We touched on them before, ACL, many things I could list off, but understanding that the body is going to keep regenerating. It wants to keep going. It wants to fulfill what I believe is its potential in the time that I have here. So that in itself is really inspiring for me. And to circle back, discipline is something that just kind of aligns itself with having other pillars of how I kind of approach my days, which is, again, consistent with what I do, making time for these things, spending time in these spaces.
But you aspire to be a great mover. I feel like that holding a vision of, I want to see the potential of this body is interesting because even just holding that could drop the discipline narrative and turn more into like devotion and desire
very much.
practice.
I think devotion's a great word.
Yeah.
Devotion. Do you know, however we look at that word? I do. I think devotion is super important.
Yeah.
I think the physical journey is a spiritual one. Not that we're going to throw that word around too much, the way it gets watered down right now, but I do believe it's that as well. It's devotion to myself, honoring the body that I've been given.
Yeah.
Do you know?
It comes from a different place. It comes from more of a love space.
It has to. It has to. It has to. I think we'll get to a point where it has to in our lives.
Yeah.
Do you know? Some of us may take longer to get there. Some of us might experience a lot more challenges along the way. Physically, injuries that are a big one. When you're in the realm of physicality, there are going to be those elements that are unpredictable that occur. We've all faced injuries. We're talking about your friend who's dealing with a knee injury now. Like, okay, that in itself can really alter the direction that we move in the way we approach our conversation with our body. Mm-hmm. Do you know, right now, my lens, my teachings are to be able to say no a lot more. Mm-hmm. No, a lot more. Jiu-jitsu this morning, perfect example. I'm on the mats. My 20-year-old mind's like, yeah, come on, you can go. And the body's like, it doesn't need to. Do you know, what is the risk? What are the risks involved? Am I going to get to class this afternoon if I go one too many hard rounds? Knowing that within that, there's ambiguity, that things can go wrong. And I don't need to explore those parameters so broadly anymore. I can kind of stay within my lane and know what serves me more at kind of this stage of my life. And I think that's also important, right? Yeah. Understanding the boundaries that we set for ourselves and being very realistic and really honest with ourselves as well. Like, what am I capable of? Where are my weaknesses? Where are my blind sides? And how willing am I to explore those? Do I have any interest in exploring those? Or am I just happy to stay comfortable with whatever my physical practice is as well, which is perfectly fine. My curiosity, I want to get, it's like the analogy of like a stray dog. Like I want to feed on this and then want to keep moving and I want to try that. And I continue to do that. And
I feel like that is human nature expressed. If you're a person that actually has the spaciousness to really fully express, you wouldn't limit yourself to a gym, indoor AC, no natural light every day. That's your training.
That's just it. Yeah.
You would move different. You would move dynamic. So to train like a human, this is the theme of the episode that I want to get into the juices of. To return to our humanness is the mission of Whole Human, basically. Yeah. Fundamentally. Yeah. And you touched on the constant disconnect that we're feeling now, that many people feel. Technology advances, but disconnect is also getting greater. Even though we have more connection online than ever, we also have greater disconnection than ever to our bodies, to our flesh.
Our bodies. Yeah.
What do you feel we're missing? What do you feel that the average person is missing when it comes to movement, when it comes to the body's ability to express?
Curiosity.
Yeah, that's it. That's the nugget.
That's the nugget. Curiosity to just what we're capable of enduring. Exploration. I think we've lost the curiosity there are so many beautiful disciplines that have stood the test of time. Do you know? And revisiting them, seeing if there's anything within, perhaps taking a dance class. Yeah. You know, most likely the things you'll find within a dance class is discomfort, unfamiliarity, like the suck, you know, something that I've used, like, embrace the suck. It's part of this human process. We're going to suck at things. And I think too often there is a fear of being incompetent at something. But I think that is where we really can explore growth, is can you remain in discomfort long enough? Because we're going to feel discomfort in this lifetime. We are. It's part of what this human experience is discomfort. It's what we have to endure. How much of it? I don't know, depending on the choices and the way we choose to live. It exists in my life, as it will in all of our lives, I feel. But through a physical practice, I see a lot of people kind of orientate themselves towards where they're most comfortable. Yeah. And there's no curiosity to explore discomfort. But I'm like, why would you not explore discomfort and get the body to feel discomfort so that when it does arise in your life in other forms, the body's like, do you know what? I know this. I've been in these places before. I know how to deal with it. And I think that's where there is a big disparity, perhaps where we're kind of speaking this in terms of the disembodiment. Like we can't just intellectualize so much of what we're taught to feel. The body has to experience it through sensations as well. And that requires curiosity. Do you know this? Find your center. How do I do that? Go stand on a balance beam. Stand on one leg and balance. The body will then try and find itself to center. That in itself is just teaching yourself how to find center. It can't just be something that happens in the brain. The brain has to know what center feels like. So simple things like that require curiosity. It's like, how does my body respond to what is perhaps happening in the mind?
I love the simplicity of the practices. I think about what does somebody need to tap into or explore that's maybe in the concrete jungle or in a place where like I go to the gym, that's my thing, I'm comfortable there. I do bicep curls, I do whatever, and that's where I allow myself to explore and express. But going to an ecstatic dance is like that's an edge. You know,
that's an edge.
To a new space is an edge, and so where does it become accessible? To start doing that edge work in a way.
Working on what is your threshold?
Yes.
Where is it where you start to feel discomfort? You know, so much of it I see it on the mats with jiu-jitsu. It's an invitation to get into positions over and over and over again where you're going to feel a lot of discomfort. Discomfort will come through someone's basically trying to strangle you. Someone's trying to cut off your ability to breathe. How do I respond to those situations? Do you know? And I think the environment that you're choosing to explore those things obviously has to have the characteristics of what allows us to explore. It's safety. It's trust. I think they're big parts as well. Trust who is facilitating perhaps the conversation. What does the conversation do? Align with the conversation, or is there just a lot of really fancy words being thrown around? And so much of what we touch on and relate is that there is a language and it's called human. It's not intellectualized. I think that's perhaps where the sophistication of it is in its simplicity.
It's body language.
You know, it's body, and it's not complex. It's allowing the brain to not be steering so much of the conversation. It takes a back seat to the body. Do you know, much like ecstatic dance, you know, Gabriel Roth, that's so much of what it was about when she'd started with 5 rhythms, like getting to a state where the brain surrenders. And we do it here. We do it here when I get us working to a state where that frustration starts to kick in, the failure becomes too much, that the brain goes, you know what, I'm not firing too well here. Do you know?
This is the perfect example of that, this game, because when we started it, you think the movement and then you can't think because we have to explore it together.
Right?
And we're just in the exploration.
What happens if I do that? Oh. Right? And that being the worst case scenario. That we fail.
Drops.
What does that mean? Like, oh shit, we just reset and we go again, right? It's just it's that simple. Do you know? And so much of what you just did there, and I know it's a narrative that I use, is to not take it so serious. Like, be okay with laughter, be okay with exploring it from a more comical lens. It can't be too serious. And I don't think most of these classes that we do ever are. I think it's almost the opposite way.
But I learned so much and it sticks with me because in play, we learn so much better, like you said. But you struck on something that, as a somatic practitioner, I'm constantly exploring is how so many people are top down.
Top down,
Instead to start exploring the bottom up.
Bottom up.
Body first. But often we need permission in the mind. Like at the beginning, you give us games to be like, okay, you do this. You know, you toss it this way, you move it that way. And then there's a way to like, okay, this is how I'm doing it. And then you give us ways to just, okay, now you can make it your own. Now explore. And then I'm like, oh, now I'm bottom upping it. I'm coming into my expression of the experience, which is rare in movement practices, surprisingly, and how people go to movement classes or do movement sessions or learn from practitioners, it seems there's often such a clear right and wrong. And your class is one of the first movement classes. And you as a teacher, I've hired you as my movement mentor. Like, I've actually got you to train me one-on-one because I'm like, you're my guy.
Yeah.
And when I do things, you don't actually say, oh, you messed that up. It's always like, oh, yep, do it again. Like, explore it. You might find a better way than what I just said.
Well, exactly.
That
exactly.
is golden. Not the right or wrong paradigm, but the explore and find your body's expression of the movement.
And then once you've found that movement, which is what you touched on as well, is how do we digest that information? Like, do you know, are we able to assimilate, or does it simply kind of come and go? And like, how do we hold on to it? And so much of what we do is understanding how the brain also works, as opposed to allowing all the noise to kind of overwhelm the exploration. How can we get the brain into a state of being malleable? How do we get into a state of neuroplasticity? So much of the games is to activate that state, so then the brain does become malleable, so that when we're taking information and creating new pathways, we leave the mat, we go home, the brain does the magic that it does with the body, and that information is digested more in its entirety, I think. So that's a big part of it as well, is like, how do we use the brain differently to the way it sits at the top? Bring it back down, let the intelligence lead, but then use the brain as a processing machine and take in the information that's then digested correctly through the body. And that is through a state of neuroplasticity. That's just scientifically proven, right?
And that keeps us young.
Keeps us young. You have to.
You are the embodiment of that.
You know it, right?
Age.
You have to. Constantly at play, constantly challenging myself within certain limitations where I feel I'm having to learn, having to constantly rewire. That's why I think I cross over so many disciplines. I'm like, oh, I get to go learn again. I'm going to go now learn pickleball. I'm going to go learn this, because I'm constantly. I think you said it's like, it's one of the keys to longevity. It's keeping the brain in a state of learning, you know?
This is a good entry point, because longevity is talked about a lot.
Oh, that's
trending.
That's trending.
You know, going to the States and going to different longevity spaces, we're joking calling it shortgevity, because of what it actually creates in the human mechanism. But you go into these concrete facilities and you have access to these pieces of biohacking equipment, which I'm not against all the biohacking equipment. But if that's the only place you tap into longevity, when we have all the natural resources around us, it seems like we might be missing the point if we're only going to the red light panel and not getting the sun. If we're only going to the grounding mat and not standing on the earth. You know, if we're only going to the gym, but we're not climbing a tree. What do you feel like are some of the biggest misses in the longevity space?
I think you touched it. It's like, what is our relationship to the natural world? It's the one thing that I ask so many people. What is your relationship to the natural world? How do you relate? Is it outside of you? Is it something that you feel is inside of you? That is what your makeup is. Do you commune with the natural world? Like, that doesn't mean going and talking to a tree. Maybe it does. Like, what is that relationship? And it is environmental to that state. You know, not everyone has the accessibility to get out and be able to take the walks that we do on the beach at sunrise or sunset, have the ability to walk barefoot. You know, most people don't have that accessibility. So I've become far more compassionate about that not everyone has made the choice to live a life where there is more priority given to connection to the natural world. Do you know? So there is those elements that will help, but like you said, you can't. Nothing beats the sun, vitamin D. Nothing beats getting into the ocean. You know, we're bodies of water, this whole nervous system regulation. We need to regulate our nervous systems. I'm like, wouldn't it make sense that if you're predominantly made of water, and if you went and spent time in large bodies of natural water, that it would help regulate your nervous system? That's why I think there's such a beautiful surfing culture here, is the relationship to the ocean, which makes total sense. And so such a big reason of why we're choosing to live down here is that we are essentially that. Do you know?
So true. I used to supplement magnesium at a high level. And I saw this research around spending time in the ocean and how much magnesium you absorb. I'm like, it's kind of missing the point. You know, it's not that I won't supplement it, but it's that I am spending 2 hours a day in the ocean oftentimes. It's like I'm actually receiving the magnesium that my body needs to ingest. But again, not everybody has access to an ocean.
No,
not
they
everybody
don't.
has access to these things.
And that's it. That's the reality of it, you know.
But what I like about your practice is how well-rounded it is. You're not like super spiritualist, you're not super naturalist, right? You're a pretty balanced man from what I can tell. Like you'll even train at a facility that doesn't have windows and it has AC. Because you're like, I want to do some of these kind of heavy lifts. I want to like push myself. I want to have the rings. I want to do that.
Yeah, I have my strength training that I do, the resistance training, calisthenics, the movement.
How do you choose to prioritize movements, and what are your non-negotiables? Because I think many people would want to know, for somebody your age to move and play and express the way you do, what are your non-negotiables in a given week? They're like, these are the things that I do. No matter what, I show up for this. Call it a routine, call it whatever. Curious what your practice looks like right now.
Okay. I spent quite a bit of time in Hong Kong.
Okay.
A lot of my clientele base were the high-performing corporate execs. And one of the questions I would always ask is like, where are you on your to-do list? And they'll be like, what do you mean? I'm like, where through your day do you prioritize doing something for yourself that you enjoy? Most of them weren't even on their list. That was just the one thing that they sacrificed. And it's the one thing as non-negotiables. What are the things that I enjoy doing that allow me to move, that keep me mentally engaged, that are socially connected? I think it's really important as well. The importance of prioritizing movement daily. I had someone that came into the gym yesterday at Silvestria. He's been on this journey for the last 3 months and he's put on quite a bit of size. And he was like, how many days do you take rest? I'm like, take rest from, what do you mean? It's like, from your physical practice. I'm like, why would I need to take rest from my physical practice? Why can't I have a daily practice and still rest at some point through my day? Prioritizing those things. And something that I've learned throughout the years is the importance of rest being as proportionate to what your physical practice is for that day. If I'm going to go do a strenuous jiu-jitsu class this morning, which it was, I want to ensure that following that practice is as much depth in the rest that I take. As opposed to like, I'm going to get to class and then I'm racing off. I'm like, so at what point are you repairing and letting the balance to recover? So the non-negotiables for me are definitely having a physical practice on a daily basis. Choosing the level of physical intensity. Some days it's a much softer practice. Some days it's much more playful. Some days it's far more technical and physical, just like the game that we played with before. But it's daily. It's daily. It's 7 days a week. Because then I prioritize and make space for resting as well. So I'm not playing catch up. Like I need a day off. Like I don't need a day off. I don't need a day off from being a human. No days off.
Because you train like a human.
Yeah, exactly. There's no days off from being from a human. I definitely allow space for how I might wake up and feel. And that would determine the practice that I have that day. That would determine at what point through the day I'm resting. So it makes, I think the word is that, making time for these non-negotiables, which is a physical practice, making sure that I'm obviously eating correctly. The nutrition aspect, as we all know, so much scientific evidence out there right now. The element of rest, getting rest on a daily basis, even though I feel I may not need it, I honor that because I know the physical work that I put in that day.
Does that look like siestas for you, napping? Is that just doing less of the physical body movement?
Yeah. Sometimes it's kind of entering kind of these kind of states of just like non-sleep deep rest where I'm just kind of stopping everything. And it may be reading. I just like allow my body to basically just switch off.
Do nothing.
Do nothing is
something that
it's really
not a lot of people do.
It's really tough. It's really tough. We feel like we're almost being non-productive and we've been taught to believe that, but it's probably the most productive that we can do for our bodies, that we've demanded certain physical elements from during that day, you know. So they're the non-negotiables. And I think the other one is getting out into the natural elements, making sure I'm getting out into the sun, make sure I'm getting into the ocean because it is accessible to me. So I'm making sure that they are non-negotiables on a daily basis.
Beautiful. So for the guys that are the execs, those guys that you were talking to, that are like, I have no time to prioritize me. What do you tell to those guys? What do you tell to those people that say they don't have the time to do those things?
So much of what a common narrative within that was they struggled to find time.
Yeah.
And I think we've heard it all. Like, it's not about finding time, it's about making time. Do you know? And that was the thing. Like, there are enough hours in the day to be able to prioritize yourself. And I think it's making time. Do you know? Or it does get to a point, and a lot of these, particularly the men, they were at these critical junctures where they were basically given medical advice that they need to alter something and implement a physical practice. Otherwise, their health was going to continue to deteriorate. Do you know? So whether that comes just through a lack of awareness, through just conditioning that we're just going to keep driving and moving forward, and we'll deal with those things later. Like, I think it also gets to a critical juncture in a lot of people's lives. Injuries make us very orientate the direction of what we might choose to do on a daily basis, or illness as well. But trying not to let it get to those points and taking a bit more sovereignty and agency of, again, creating non-negotiables, you know, and it might be one to start. And then you can slowly integrate to a second one, or maybe there might be a third one. It may be one that you just need on a daily basis that serves you, you know, so.
Even just the microdose of movement to start. Also, the microdose of play.
The way it's prescribed, you know, like something is better than nothing. And I've said that so many times. Oh, I don't have time. You're telling me you don't have 10 minutes? You don't have 2 songs that you can put your earbuds in and just do some form of physical movement or exercise, and then it compounds. It's like compounding interest. 10 minutes today, 10 minutes tomorrow, that becomes 15 minutes. You start to feel differently into your body. I'm like, do you know what? I'm going to now invest 20 minutes and then 30 minutes, but I think something is better than nothing. Do you know?
I agree. That's commonly what I tell my clients is to microdose the play. Like 5 minutes of play. Like, just do it. Like literally 2 songs. Like,
and you can accumulate it through the day. It could be a process of accumulation. It doesn't mean like, oh, I need to block out an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm like, it might be 15 minutes in the morning. It might be 30 minutes in the afternoon. It might be something that you do later in the evening. And it just compounds. Do you know? Also, I think that's a really good approach.
I think that's actually probably better for the human animal we are, rather than going to the gym for an hour. Is throughout the day, sporadically, I'm sitting. So then I get up and I just do this for 100 bounces. And then I get back and I sit. It's like that to me is better than you took an hour to go into a space and move in a linear way. And then you go back to your box and lay down. I think, and I wonder if you would agree with that, the dosing, smaller, spread out, is more of a natural human way to move, which I imagine you're constantly doing. Because of you, I have tennis balls in my house, and every morning I juggle, and I throw them against the wall, and I just explore, and then I'll go about and I'll probably go surf actually, but I have the luxury to do that. But if I was to go straight into work, my brain would be on, my body would have been moved, and it literally took 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Something is better than nothing. And to add to what you were just talking about, the microdosing, it's also then understanding where our limitations of productivity lie if we are people that have desk jobs and it requires for us to sit down. Like the curiosity of learning how to be optimal at work is important from my understanding. There are rhythms that exist within that. The scientifically, again, have been proven, and they're ultradian rhythms, these ebbs and flows of where we have the ability to remain within attention before we start to fatigue. And the windows are generally about 90 minutes.
90 minutes is what flow state shows.
90 minutes, exactly, right? 90 minutes. At those 90 minutes, we start to fatigue, the mind wants to rest, we start to think about food, what am I doing next? So they're the perfect times to kind of get away and get up and get a little bit of movement, a snack, whatever it is, and then reset and come back to what we're doing. You know, so that's definitely an important part, but I couldn't agree with you more. I think breaking it up through the day, if you feel like blocking out an hour to an hour and a half is too much, just chip away at it.
So that's with movement, strength, these practices. Would you say the same for mobility and the people that want to, like myself, want to have more mobility in the body. You're a very mobile person. And I don't know if that was natural or that was something you had to train and get reps with. But does that also apply the same way as you would look at fitness? You would also look at mobility, flexibility, recovery from injury. Do you put all those things in the same process and practice? Or how do you look at those differently, if so?
The mobility aspect, I think, has become more of a priority as opposed to the strength aspect. I think I've reached a point in my journey where I've achieved the amount of strength that I require for the things that I do, which is also so important. I'm like, what are you working in the gym for? Like, when is enough? When do you feel you've achieved enough strength? Like, how much strength do you need based on what it is and how it serves you? Mm-hmm. And I've gotten to an understanding where I'm no longer looking to get stronger, but I'm looking not to lose the strength that I have been able to develop. Mm-hmm. So now I'm able to prioritize more of the mobility aspect, which I see it as the ability to move freely through the ranges of motion that my body is designed to have. Mm-hmm. So I give more priority to that. And I think the byproduct of so much of the practice is that then you develop that natural aesthetic that is not inflated, do you know? So the resistance aspect, the strength aspect for me is a non-negotiable through the week. Is it an everyday thing? No, not necessarily. Have I found a way that I can integrate strength and mobility together? I'm like, absolutely. Yeah. There's no reason why you can't do the both. They can't both be into the one practice. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Mm-hmm. But I definitely give more time and focus to my ranges of motion. And within those ranges of motion, can I move through them passively? And can I move through those ranges of motion with active tension as well? Mm. That's the way I would look at the mobility. And how important is it to me? How much do I need it to serve me on a daily basis?
Yeah. And training with you, you would actually bring both of those things into the same session. Yeah. Like we'd be on the rings and we would hold, and then we would hold here. So then we're actually, I'm struggling, I'm shaking to hold the posture, but then I'm also holding overhead and just releasing so I can have mobility through my shoulders. So you actually bring them in of the stretch and the squeeze and then pulsing through, rather than these are separate
practices. Separate. No, they're not. They're all part of the human practice. The way the body is designed, if we really strip it back, there are certain elements within disciplines, which a lot of it comes from the likes of gymnastics. Yeah. So much of the ring work comes from that, the ability to brachiate, the ability to hang, but that again requires understanding, so much of it can be appealing because aesthetically it looks really challenging to be able to do that, which is great. That's perfectly okay.
It's a challenge.
The challenge, which is something in itself. But understanding what really serves me and how is the body designed. What's the design of the body? What is its purpose? How is it designed to move? Or how does it really want to move?
So when it comes to the gym, because most people are going there, that's their place of practice.
Yeah.
I see you often doing similar things, and I'm curious what things you do in the gym that you're like, this, when I pick up weights and I go to the gym, these are the 5 things I'm doing because this. There's a reason you go and you do the strength-based stuff, but
absolutely.
What movements are you doing?
Compound lifting, absolutely. Getting a weight, getting a bar, putting a lot of weight underneath it. Not so much weight these days, but looking at different ways to use resistance, using loop bands and using chains and so forth. But I'm definitely squatting once or twice a week. Mm-hmm. The foundation's pushing, pulling, rotational exercises as well.
So you do a lot of those.
A lot, super important, right? Understanding, again, the rotational torque in the body, how to generate force in the body, the elasticity that the body has, how to activate that.
Can you talk about that? The force and the elasticity? Like, how do you get explosive in movement safely? Because that's something that I think to many people, maybe they wouldn't feel safe doing. How do you start exploring that? Because explosiveness is so important to our human animal, to be able to jump, to be able to sprint, to be able to do these things. but it might feel not accessible to some. So how do you start exploring that?
It's so funny. It's one of the things that I'm constantly prescribing to people. Like, oh, I want to get better with my movement and I don't feel I move fast enough and I don't feel like I have the acceleration that I need. I'm like, go and jump rope.
Yeah.
Like jump rope is so humbling. It is so humbling because it requires timing, it requires rhythmicality. It really allows you to understand the weight of the body and how heavy most of our movements that we're producing. There's so much weight. The ability just to being able to get onto the balls of the feet and spring through movement is such an art in itself. I jump rope, I'm gonna say 3 to 4 times a week. It provides me so much information. You know, it's connected. How are my ankles? How are my knees? How are my hips? How are my feet?
Yeah.
Starting there, and it's something that's been around for the longest of time. And if you look across so many disciplines, why do boxers skip? What is boxing based on? It's based on footwork and movement so much. It always comes back to movement. Yeah. So again, maybe spending so much time within the physical culture, I've understood there are certain key elements, and learning just to simply initiate a hop or a jump is a really good starting point. Then I do feel that it just becomes a natural progression in curiosity where you start to feel comfortable because they're quite tangible. You start to know when you're getting better at more efficient because you can do it for longer.
Yeah.
Then you start to, I think, feel like, okay, now I'm getting good on the balls of my feet. Maybe how do I explore jumping higher? Double unders. I think we're at triple unders now in CrossFit. That's what they're demanding of people. I think they just, it activates a natural curiosity to then want to explore what I can build upon now that I feel like I'm more comfortable in my feet. I can now start to jump high. I can start to add plyometrics. What happens if I jump up onto a box? Do you know? So simple things like that. Plyometrics, again, have been around for the longest of time. Depth jumps. But I would honestly start like, get a jumping rope and implement a skipping practice into your weekly practice, once or twice a week. Try and jump rope for a minute, 2 minutes. Try and jump rope to your favorite song. See how long it takes you to attain that. Then I think it almost becomes, like I said, just a natural progression to what I could do after I have that access to elasticity in the body, which most of it starts at the feet, into the ankles, and then progresses through into the knees, and then we can start to build on having just a good connection to the floor.
Makes sense. That's the big 3, right? In aging, if you can jump, if you can run, if you can throw. Right? And then there's different tiers, there's different layers to if you can do this much, if you can jump this high for this long, if you can run that fast, if you can throw that far, it shows biologically your age. It's like based on these big 3 simple things that not many people regularly practice.
So there has to be a starting point. And let's say, what are the starting points that are going to perhaps allow me to gain greater access to those things? And do I really want to sprint as fast as I can? You know, there is a lot of information out there now about the importance of running, that maybe after the age of 30, most of us are not going to sprint many times in our lives again. Do you know? I'm like, okay, I guess so. Depends on the situation that you're in and your curiosity to want to. But they are key elements.
Beautiful. I'm going to read some quotes that I picked up from you over time. I saved some of these. You share so much wisdom online. If you don't follow this guy already, Move and Play. You always share all the wisdom. So this is, we talked about this, but it's a great reminder. You said your body responds to what you repeatedly do, not what you occasionally do, not what you plan to do, but what you repeatedly
do. Again, I think we touched on that, the consistency. Right? That is the intelligence of the body. It will become efficient at what you demand of it. That is just a given. So consistently apply yourself to the things that allow us to, what I'm going to say, move with freedom and with limited pain. There's going to be discomfort in the body. I think that comes with physical exploration. There are going to be niggly knees, sore wrists, shoulders, ankles. I do feel I do feel it's almost unavoidable that there are going to be aches and pains. It's part, again, of this physical journey. But I think touching on that, it would probably, you would have to summarize just having a consistent practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Allows for adaptation.
Next one, reach for subtlety and nuance of sensation. Lead with your imagination. Curiosity is vital. Love that.
Right? I think we touched on all those things, right?
Slow down. Speed is a sensation killer. Maybe we could speak to that a bit more. The power of the slowdown. We did talk to, you said non-sleep deep rest is a practice, but the ability to actually slow and feel sensation as a practice. How do you start to bring that in? It sounds simple.
It's if only it were that simple, right? I think, again, creating spaces that allow us to slow down. Easier said than done. You know, we have demands through the day of things that we need to accomplish in order to survive. But finding moments and spaces through the day where you have full permission to slow down. You know, it may be your physical practice. It might be doing a yoga nidra. It might be doing a meditation. It might be just going down to the beach and taking a slow walk. And moving at a tempo that we allow for information to come in, do you know?
Beautiful. Last one that I love is it's basically about the preparation that we were talking about. It says, neither money nor political affiliation will shield you from what's ahead. The most vital prep is a resilient body, regulated nervous system, open heart capable of attracting and holding love, a deeply committed union rooted in values and living connection to the Most High. Oof.
That's a good one, right? That's deep. That's deep.
That's good.
Yeah.
The preparation. A lot of people are afraid of what comes next with AI, what comes next politically, what comes next in the world. What does the preparation look like? Is the preparation practice?
It's practice. It's, again, allowing ourselves to feel discomfort, and we can get better at that by applying ourselves to physical practice that generate discomfort and stress on the body, that we familiarize ourselves with it. And also, obviously, the most important part is the element of uncertainty, which I think that's what creates so much discomfort for people. The not knowing, the ambiguity of it all, that the more we can become familiar with uncertainty, I think it's much easier to kind of navigate this journey, for sure. It's, you know, it is all uncertain. And I guess that takes trust, right? That's trusting in your higher self. Maybe that's where it comes back to. And then it's the question like, whoa, how do I connect myself to my higher self? And that can just continue. There's so many layers to that. But I just feel the importance of creating environments where we feel unfamiliar what's being asked of us. It may then generate discomfort. Discomfort is also good. Not saying that we have to constantly be into these spaces, but welcome them in a little bit more. Yeah. I think then we get better. We get more comfortable with it. You know. Yeah, it's something that came to me from really young, you know, being on the tennis court, being out there at the age of 10 and having all these expectations of having to win, and then dealing with expectations, with failure, with certain, that my body just over the years, I'm like, oh my God, I've been in those situations so many times that now when there's uncertainty and there's stress and there's the risk of failure, I'm like, I'm okay with it all. Everything is still going to work out. I've got to this point. You know, so I do feel the exposure to those spaces, and I think we need to be creating more of those spaces, and more of those spaces can be created by inviting it onto the floor like this, and kind of touching on those elements through the conversations that we're having. You know,
the differentiator I like that I've heard over the years is there's stress, but then there's eustress, which is EU stress, which is intentional stress. to create change.
Yes.
It's action. It's actually, I want this stress to then help me grow. Rather than creating spaces of stress, we're actually bringing in eustress. We're bringing in something that we know is going to support our growth and basically preparing for the unpreparable. That's why like the practice of falling is so important. Like practice falling, because you're going to fall at some point. Practice falling, physically falling, prepare for the unpreparable, because we have no fucking idea what's going to happen next.
No,
so
we
might as well do some more improv. We might as well do some exploration of the body in different dynamic ways, because that's a reflection of how we can show up for what happens in the world around us.
Yeah.
You do so well. Thank you for being my teacher in this. Thank you. Fucking love you, brother. Last question that I ask everybody that comes on is, at this point in time, what does it mean for you to be whole?
What does it mean for me to be whole? Is accepting the reality of what this existence is. And it's not fucking all light and unicorns. There is a lot of darkness in what we're being exposed to and what our understanding of what perhaps this existence is. And yet within that, trying to remain, which is going to completely tie into what it is you're doing. It's remaining whole and remaining human. And what does that mean? What does it mean to remain human? Mm-hmm. Do you know? And human to me is, it's relational, you know, first relation to myself, you know. What are the conversations I have with myself? What are the conversations I have with the loved ones around me? How do I show up for the loved ones around me? How can I be of support? I think it's interesting, the word that's come to mind so much lately, such a simple word, it's a word caring, like just caring more for every element of what this existence is, caring for those around us. It's fuck, it's not complicated, yet it feels like it really is. To feel whole, to feel all of it, and to welcome it all. That's to feel whole to me. To not run away from the pain, the grievance, which I think we're all feeling so deeply right now. It's to be willing to accept it all and feel into it all, would be the way I would summarize it, for sure. Yeah.
Beautifully put. Yeah. There we go.
There we go.
Thank you, brother.
One take.